Hello and welcome to the Absolute Football Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. I do question why you've clicked on it. This is the first episode. We've not got any ratings or reviews or anything. But yeah, thank you. We appreciate it.
This is people listening back. 100%.
Yeah, they're on episode 104. Someone's told them about it and they've gone, I may as well start from the start. Yeah. No, to be fair, I get that. So, I'm here. I'm Louis Perrin. I'm here with my good friend Tom, Thomas Davies. Is it Thomas Davies or
Tom Davis?
Davis.
Davis. But if you want to pronounce it weird, we'll go Davies.
Okay. Well, we'll get into why I pronounce it weird in a second. But Tom, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are then?
Yeah. So I'm a 28-year-old.
Are you 28?
Yeah, I know.
28.
I know. Crack on, mate. I'm 29, which I'm right. 30 next year. Scary as hell.
Jesus, that is scary.
I'm a painfully optimistic Chelsea fan, and I live in West Wales, so it makes absolutely no sense I'm a Chelsea fan, other than I copied a friend when I was 5 years old.
No.
Sounded like a good idea.
No. You're a glory hunter who started supporting in 2004, correct?
Ken Bates. I was there. I remember when Ken Bates, I thought he'd resigned and sold the club, and I thought that meant that Chelsea were over. When I heard the news, I was that young. I thought.
Little did you know that a Russian billionaire was going to give you the best years of your life.
I know, and the best year is yet to come. Just you wait.
Well, no okay. Questions. Well, we'll get into that. See, at least mine makes a little bit of sense. So I'm, for my sins, a Arsenal fan, and it is the hope that kills us. So there's no point in saying I'm a hopeful Arsenal fan. We're all hopeful Arsenal fans, and that's what gets us. But I say North London just because it's easier. But I'm from way north of London, about 50 miles north of London, in a little village. But the closest team, sort of big team, is Arsenal, except for Watford. But
Luton
when
Town.
I was younger, they weren't a big team.
Luton Town, Luton Town, come on.
Again, don't get me wrong, I love Luton Town. Been to Luton Town games. They're not a big team, okay? I'm going to get a lot of criticism for that. But yeah, okay, fine. They're not a big team.
Championship caliber now these days.
Again, as Watford, not a big team. So yeah, no, Arsenal was the team closest to me. My dad supported them, and he bought me a video called Scoring Arsenal when I was about 3, and that's all I did every day. Because when you don't have a life when you're 3, you wake up, food's made for you, and you stick on Scoring Arsenal, and it was I just got obsessed. So that's basically our backgrounds. We're massive football fans. Otherwise, this podcast wouldn't make much sense. Tom is a Chelsea fan. I'm an Arsenal fan, and we disagree a lot over football things. It has to be said. But we love talking about it. So that's sort of what we decided to do. We got our heads together. We've been doing this for years, having chats in the pub about football and nonsense, and thought, why not do a podcast? If we enjoy the conversations, then surely somebody else will as well.
Wishful thinking early on.
Wishful thinking, yeah, exactly. So this is our first episode. It's sort of a bit of an introduction, just a bit of a thing mainly for us to figure out technology. That's kind of the sort of main thing we're doing now. We're seeing if all of this works. We don't even know if this is recording, to be honest. But hopefully it is, and we'll have something to do with it afterwards. So Tom, do you want to tell us a little bit about the name of the podcast?
Yeah, there's nothing really behind it other than
that was joyful.
Yeah, well, no, I'm going to be completely honest. You Google football podcast generator online.
Oh no, you didn't tell me this.
Generic
this
words.
Is the first I'm hearing of this.
I was on page 50. I was on page 15. I tried Football Extra Time, and some of them are just don't make any sense. They're just letters in a particular order.
Waterloo podcast.
Yeah, or just something like ending in foot 2, and that doesn't mean anything. And Absolute Football popped up. So, and in fairness to the generator, probably the reason it came up with garbage was that it automatically searched all podcast providers to find out if that name was taken already. So it was some method of the madness. And Absolute Football came up, and why not? I thought it sounds absolutely great.
The only thing I would say about it don't get me wrong. I love the name. Big fan of the Absolute Football Podcast. I keep wanting to call it That Absolute Football Podcast, which I'm now starting to think might have been a better name. But anyway,
yeah, it might change after episode 1. Never know.
Yeah, could do.
Work in progress.
But it does sound a bit like, that David Mitchell kind of sketch where he's like, the football and nothing but the football and the absolute football. That's exactly what that kind of sounds like. So
it does. And then the next year, it's more football followed by football.
The Giants take on the Titans in a clash that makes both teams seem normal size. Yeah, that one. It's a great one. I've just got a thing flashing up saying my camera battery is low. So this is a good start because we're about 2 minutes in. So again, this first episode is probably just going to be audio anyway. So it is what it is. Again, technology. So yeah, good. So basically, our sort of agenda for today and our sort of loose topic is to sort of do a season preview for Arsenal and for Chelsea, and to kind of have a discussion between each other about transfer business, the team's hopes for the new season, how they did after the sort of COVID shutdown, and how they did coming back into that, and sort of where they need to improve and where they're sort of good and fine and ready to challenge on all fronts. I think there won't be many areas as a Chelsea and Arsenal fan that we think our teams are able to challenge on all fronts.
We're not far off. We're not far off.
Okay. Well. Okay. Let's go back to. Okay. We were all loving football. All right. It was about Feb time, and then to be fair, my club, Arsenal's manager Arteta, he got tested positive. English, that was good. He was tested positive. No, still not right. He tested positive. Nice.
There we go.
That's going in the trailer. He
tested
positive.
Was it him and Callum? It was him and Callum Hudson-Odoi, wasn't it?
No, Arteta was first. Yeah, Arteta was the first kind of football figure, yeah, for sure. And then because he'd met the Olympiacos owner, and when we went out,
yes,
which let's not talk about that. So anyway, he contracted COVID-19, and then the whole thing was shut and stopped. It was all very abrupt, very sudden, and we were all very sad. Fast forward a few months, the Bundesliga starts to come back. Actually, do you know what? This is kind of a topic that I'm just going to bring up now, and we can maybe use it in another episode. We obviously joined on quite a few calls together to talk about and watch the Bundesliga, and kind of as if we were at the pub and we sort of did it on the Zoom calls and we're both watching it. What was your thoughts on Bundesliga football?
Just makes Jadon Sancho look class for a start.
He was big when we came back after lockdown.
Yeah,
he was big.
thick boy. I don't know. I still can't put my finger on it. I think make individuals look better, possibly, which is why I'm a little bit nervous about Kai Havertz and Timo Werner. But then I think one of the games we watched was the Dortmund Bayern game, and we were also praying for Dortmund to win just because it's a bit more.
Title race would have been interesting.
Yeah, it's a bit more interesting. And in fairness, looking back now, the fact they only lost that 1-0 to a bit of a cheeky fluke from Kimmich, that chip from the box. What a result from Dortmment! What a result from Dortmund, though. Well, I don't know. I'm undecided.
I mean, Keeper could have done better.
Yeah, exactly. Keeper could have done. I think got a hand to it as well. But the fact that they only lost that 1-0 is unreal when you compare the demolition job that.
Yeah, but see, now they started getting. But this is the thing then. So I was watching the Bundesliga, and I remember us both saying at the time to each other, this is slow. This feels incredible. And again, they've just come back from lockdown, and let's be honest, we didn't carry it on for too long. We sort of watched it for 4 weeks. The Premier League came back and we stopped watching. But what I would say is that the Prem coming back into it seemed immediately a lot more fast-paced than the Bundesliga. The Bundesliga just felt like everyone had so much time, and everyone had so much sort of space and time to do runs and tricks and passes, and it just. I mean, I remember we watched a game. I think it was Dortmund versus Schalke, and that keeper, honestly. Anyway, we won't go into it, but genuine Sunday League stuff.
Yeah, pretty poor.
So yeah, I'll kind of bring it back up later when we get into the whole sort of signings that Chelsea have made. But it certainly would make me nervous to bring in players from the Bundesliga unless they're coming from Bayern, because Bayern then went on into a different gear than anything I've seen in a long time. And
well, didn't they? What did he? Was it? What's his name? Fleck. Flick.
Hans Flick.
He what was he? 23 out of 24 games they won towards the end of the season. Considering
that idea of a title race being interesting was very
is it more of a case of just Bayern just went, we've had enough of this. Yeah, we've had enough of this. Let's just go. And in fairness to him, he did actually, in hindsight, watching the Champions League at the end, he did such a good job. When you look at like the tactical changes he made and stuff, like bringing Alaba in at centre back and leaving Hernandez, the world's most expensive left back, just sort of rotting on the bench for Alfonso for a 19-year-old winger to go chuck him at left back.
A 90 who's now probably the best left back in the world. I mean, in the Champions League final, he looked nervous, but he's 19.
Yeah, let him off.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. I think the problem that they've got in that league is that, like, Bayern looked insane against Chelsea. They looked amazing against. Well, I want to say they look amazing against Barcelona, but that was just Barcelona just imploding on themselves. I think Chelsea gave a better account of themselves than than Barcelona did. But I think it's just they just clean up the league, don't they? It's them and Dortmund and nobody else.
And Dortmund, let's be honest, when was the last time they properly challenged it? Properly.
Yeah, if they exactly. But the benefit they had this season was they brought in Haaland, who looked insane, looked ridiculous. He was on that purple patch, so we don't know if that's going to carry on. So I think that helped them. And they had sort of like Sancho playing so well, like probably the best winger in Europe before lockdown closed.
For sure, yeah.
Goals and assists.
And this is the other thing that kind of disproves the whole the Bundesliga makes him look good thing, is that when he went to Barcelona and in the Camp Nou, he scored a phenomenal goal there, and they go into, and they very nearly knocked out PSG. And so I just think maybe it was but I remember us saying at the time the Bundesliga just seems a lot slower. But maybe that was just a lockdown thing. Okay, so anyway, so we fast forwarded then. We're past the stage when we were watching the Bundesliga, and the Prem starts back up. Give me your assessment of Chelsea from the start back of sort of football again till the end of the season. Including the FA Cup final. If we could include the FA Cup final, that would be ideal. In your analysis, I'll give you the proper brief. In your analysis right now, if you can just include the FA Cup final in your thoughts on Chelsea's end to the season, that would be ideal.
I'll do my very best to brush over it as quickly as humanly possible. Hit and miss, I think, would be my takeaway, because you can't do the job we did on City, and we properly did a job on City. It was a bit like it was a park the bus and catch on the break job, but apart from that unbelievable free kick by De Bruyne, they didn't look in the game, really, I didn't think. Chelsea were the better team. And there was a couple of performances where you're just like, oh my God, we look so good. And then Tammy Abraham kept playing, and just like that Sheffield United game, he's just getting bullied all over the shop. As soon as Giroud came in, it was just like, oh God. And it's really frustrating, because you were right. He's going to get you top four every year if he plays. Maybe not so much now, but he's never going to win. But the argument I would say, he's never going to win you the league.
So it's a good signal and context to that then. So me and Tom, obviously, with Giroud being an Arsenal player at one time, I was very much the Arsenal fan, banging the drum, saying his link-up play is the best in the world. There's no one quite like him for that first touch pass through, that outside of the foot finish, his strength, his headers, he drags players all over the place. And Tom was every single year, yes, but you don't win the league.
Score enough. Yeah.
And then as soon as he came to Chelsea, you very much flipped.
I thought he's a good sub. He's a good second striker.
I agree. I will be honest and say I wish Arsenal never sold him. He was a fantastic option for us to have, and and a very good footballer, and underappreciated massively by Arsenal fans.
And I love what he did in the Europa League final. So we'll just sort of bring last season into it just quickly.
I said the FA Cup analysis, not the Europa League analysis.
I think we were lucky to finish fourth in the end. Like, losses to West Ham was a joke. Sheffield United, and okay, they were doing well, but if you look at what Sheffield United did after the restart, they beat us 3-4-0, whatever it was in the end. Didn't really do anything else apart from that. So the teams that we should have been beating, we lacked a cutting edge. We were good at sitting back on leads and sort of catching teams on the break, but which is why we worked against United. I think we played well in the FA Cup. We beat Leicester in the FA Cup. We beat City, who were three of the top four, obviously minus Leicester towards the end, but at the time I think they were third. So we were beating big, good teams, but then just playing crap against the other teams. And I think we didn't have same as probably a lot of other clubs, and kind of what we like under Sarri as well, is there's no plan B. And that was when then Giroud came into the squad, and it's like, okay, now we actually do have a plan B. We can go route one, because Tammy is, I think there was a quote, I don't know if it's true or not, it came out in the papers, that Lampard, after the Sheffield United game in the dressing room, called him an effing championship striker straight in front of everyone. So it's like,
this was my issue with, I think we spoke about this before, where Tammy Abraham, for me, start of the season, it was like humble, hard-working, scoring goals, but just looked like he was really enjoying the kind of opportunity to finally play for Chelsea, and then it's almost like he sort of became, like it got to his head, and it's sort of like he became like, I am Chelsea's number 9.
You should follow him on Instagram. It's disgusting.
Or is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, well, for all of them though. That's disgusting. But you can't blame. I mean, they're entertainers, and they, they make the money.
It's not the same. So I follow like Christian Pulisic, Mason Mount, and a few others. But Tammy, maybe it's because he's a striker as well. It's kind of like a personality thing. But it's just like all of it is like buying his girlfriend like diamond watches and stuff. It's like, kind of just.
Stop flexing.
Yeah. And we didn't offer him the contract he wanted, because he wanted to be on $100,000 a week like Callum Hudson-Odoi was. And Lampard just basically wasn't in charge for the Hudson-Odoi deal. So I don't know if that would have gone through, but he was like, you're not worth that. And once we weren't giving him the contract, that's the performances dipped. And
thing is, though,
I think maybe you can't really blame him. Believe his own hype a bit.
Yeah, well, you can't really blame them, because I mean, the whole point of that sort of Instagram thing is to kind of, it is that sort of showing off thing. I think you've got to, and I think a lot of footballers do, and I follow a lot of footballers, and I think they do realise that there a lot of people that follow them are looking up to them as role models and are understanding sort of what they do and looking at what they do. And it's not like that's a bad thing to aspire to. If you're showing someone that you can, then you can spoil your partner or everything, then that's fine and everything. But I think a lot of people that. Well, yeah, exactly. And I think it's about the way you do it maybe as well, and sort of the story you tell. But I don't follow him on Instagram, so I don't know. But what I would say from looking at his performances, he, all of a sudden, it was like every time the ball wasn't passed to him in the area, every time somebody else had a shot, every time, he made a run and it was like a lashing out. It was like arms, out, screaming. I heard him, you can hear it through the pitch side microphone, screaming at players sometimes when they hadn't cut it back. And you're going, I mean,
very Cristiano Ronaldo, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes, exactly like that. When you at Real Madrid with Bale, every time Bale had a shot, I mean, you didn't scream at him, I don't think, but it would very much be like a, head down to the floor, like, why did you even try? You're not as good as me. It was like that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I wasn't impressed. Hopefully in the off, because we were talking about this before when we were talking about the Euros, when they were going to go ahead, and we said, who would you start? Would you start Abraham and Kane, or would you start just one of them? And at the time, we were both saying, maybe do Kane as a number 10 in behind and start Tammy up front for what he offers you, the hard work, everything like that. But it really went off the boil from what I saw as an Arsenal fan second half of the season anyway.
And I can see him as well now. This is the thing. It goes one of two ways now. That's the problem he's got now, is he's third choice striker of the club. And if he is. He is the choice striker. He's second choice striker, and Timo Werner's come in, and you're telling me that we've spent 55 million on him, a player that Jurgen Klopp wanted at Liverpool, who are arguably the second best team in Europe still, if not one of the best teams in Europe. They wanted Timo Werner.
Could he play off the left?
Pulisic was probably arguably our player of the season last year.
Off the right, Pulisic?
Hakim Ziyech. You get
number 10.
Then you play him in the centre. We just bought Kai Havertz. You can't play many. You've got Kovacic and Kante. The rumours of Kante maybe going, but I can't see that happening. Then where does Tammy Abraham fit into that? I just can't. He's going to be one of those players who probably ends up at Palace.
Palace.
Yeah, well, who else? That's the thing. The problem is,
we always say this. No. We always say this. What are the two teams we always say? If a player is leaving the top four and they're English, where are they going?
Palace or Everton?
No. West Ham or Everton. Always West Ham or Everton. Always West Ham or Everton.
Well, maybe not West Ham now, but
maybe not.
But it's the thing, isn't it? If you're one of those players who's not quite good enough for the top four, you go to Spurs or Everton. The two, aren't they?
Ooh,
usually.
Okay.
But Spurs are what, 8th, something like that for last year?
No, that was
that was
6.
us.
That was us.
Jose celebrating like they've won the league. He finished 6th.
Oh, have you? By the way, I'll cut this out. But have you started watching the Prime thing? Oh, mate.
No, definitely don't cut it out. Either, but no,
Radio is box office. It's so
that's
good.
That's an episode all in itself. That is a review of that.
They're doing weekly episodes, which is annoying because I like to binge these series. Just get so but they've released 3 at once though, so you can get a good watch.
Oh, good. Sure. Yeah, Becky's on nights this week as well, so that'd be lovely. Becky being my girlfriend. So hit and miss, I'd say. Happy we finished 4th, obviously, because that meant that we could sign Werner, we could sign Havertz, do all of this stuff. We should have made it a lot easier. I think we were pretty much guaranteed 4th by Christmas, and just tried our hardest. It was like that. There was a couple of seasons ago where everybody just doesn't want to finish 4th. Like nobody wanted to do it. Everyone just kept losing. If like Chelsea would be playing lunchtime, we'd lose, and then the other 2 would lose.
So true. Yeah,
we'd get like a scrappy last minute 1-1. Yeah,
everyone just wants Europa League.
Yeah, everyone loves a Thursday night.
Yeah, of course we do.
Yeah, so
okay, so a question then, because Frank in his interviews, and again, you probably watch more interviews of Frank than I do, but in his interviews that I saw, he'd always be going, "We don't finish our chances. We create all these chances. We don't finish our chances. We don't kill off the game. Blah 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 blah." As a Chelsea fan and as an Arsenal fan watching a Chelsea game, I thought you were very attacking. I thought you had really good, link up play, really good movement. Like it was beautiful to watch at times. Which again. One thing I will say about this, about me and you, is that I am quite a logical football fan, whereas I think you're a bit more of a brash, even if Chelsea are 10th, we're still the best team in the world. Fuck off. Sort of thing.
Well, no, it's fair. Last year I thought we were going to finish 10th, genuinely, without Hazard and stuff. But now I think we're going to win Europe, but we're the Champions League next year now. But I'm definitely more heart on my sleeve. Definitely more heart on my sleeve.
Yeah, exactly. So, from watching what he said, he sort of was, it was that you never finish your chances. As a Chelsea fan, then, is it that your attack wasn't good enough, which is clearly what Frank thinks from the signings that you've made, and we'll get into them in a bit, or are you of the belief that you're not defensively sound enough, either individually in terms of the personnel or systematically in terms of how you play?
I disagree. I don't think we created enough chances. There were games we should, because when you're looking at teams like City, and there's a stat about basically, like, if you look at, there's something about Lukaku. And Lukaku's gone to Inter Milan now, and he's banging them in, and it's like, is that Lukaku's fault, or was that a United problem? And if you look at, if he's managed by Mourinho, he's going to get 3 shots a game. He's now managed by Conte, and they're bossing games. He's getting 6 chances a game. Aguero's getting 6, 7, 8 chances a game, so he's going to score more. I don't think we had enough opportunities to score, really, and that's why we've brought in Werner, who could realistically play on the left, like you said. Brought in Havertz, brought in Hakim Ziyech. Is just a
Ziyech signing is an incredible signing, and I cannot believe
he's getting 15 assists a season. Easy.
I can't believe you've got him for the price you've got him, and that nobody else seemed to challenge it that heavily. He's an Arsenal fan, so it hurts me that he's not.
It's physique, apparently. It was physique. He was too. Nobody wanted to risk. He was too thin.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, yeah. Fine. Too thin. But I mean, Messi was nearly released. Do you know what I mean? It's just like I remember, and I don't know if you had the same. I remember playing at youth football, and we're kind of going from tangent to tangent here. But I mean, we've always said we want this to be quite authentic and quite natural, as a conversation would be. I remember playing at youth football, and I played with a guy, and sometimes against a guy called Phil Bright, actually, on Blight. Phil, it might be Blight or Bright. Anyway, he was quite a skinny guy at the time, like really skinny, even for our age group, really kind of small. And I was small and skinny for our age group as well. And he played centre mid. And I'd always wanted to play centre mid, but I was never, it was sort of like, you're going to get roughed up and, completely bullied off the ball and everything like that. And he played there, and I kid you not, he was half the size of some of these players, both in height and in width and everything like this. No one got near him for 90 minutes, right? I don't think he ever made it, and he should have. It was probably just when it starts to get to that kind of physical age, and you have to have that little bit of thing. Injuries, I don't know. I don't know what happened to him, but he was. No one got near him, and I'm talking 3 years above, 4 years above he was playing at. No one got near him on the ball ever. So the physique thing, it kind of annoys me a little bit, because if that's genuinely the reason no one's challenged it, I mean, maybe this will be clipped and in a year's time when he's going for 10 mil and he hasn't assisted or scored all season, then brilliant. But I think that's an incredible bit of business.
It is. And apparently the other thing was, it's the Dutch league risk, basically, that you're either getting Alfonso Alves at Middlesbrough, who scored 7 in one game for Heerenveen and then couldn't hit a barn door.
Didn't he score 4 goals in one game though against Man City?
Against United or something like that. I think City, yeah.
Yeah, it was City, like the 8.
Yeah, so you get one of them who can't do anything. For every one of them, you get a Van Nistelrooy or you get an Iron Robin, and basically people are willing to take the risk. Like,
it'd be interesting to see how. I know they're different types.
But he did it in the Champions.
See the comparison between Van der Beek and Ziyech. Then it'd be interesting to see who gets.
I was watching a BT Sport welcome Donny van der Beek to like Manchester United. They'd done a 6.5 minute.
I watched the same. Yeah, I watched the same
promo on BT Sport.
Oh, my camera's gone. Sorry.
Oh well, that's fine. We'll have to do audio so I can start. Flipping the beard now. So they do like welcome to United or like big promo of Van der Beek, and nearly every highlight of Van der Beek had Hakim Ziyech in it.
Right.
And nearly every single one. Everyone was like, it was him doing an assist or him being the pass before the pass.
You're right. Yeah, I watched that video. Yeah.
And when he came to Stamford Bridge, that was a game that he ripped us apart single-handedly, scoring just for fun. He scored directly from a corner. It was just embarrassing. He's made us look terrible, and I can't believe nobody went after him for 34, 35 mil, whatever it was. Just ridiculous.
No. Yeah, incredible.
It's ridiculous.
Okay, so you've made all those attacking signings then. So you're thinking now you're going to create more chances. Now, what about defensively then?
It's the keeper issue, isn't it? The man doesn't dive.
Your keeper, shots. And I've texted this to you before, and I can put it in, I can maybe add the WhatsApp in now.
Yeah.
He is liquid. He is actual water in goal, okay?
He doesn't dive. He doesn't dive for shots. And so there's that one that Zaha scored at the end of the season. It's like, whoa, what a strike from Zaha. It went straight down the middle of the goal.
Mm-hmm.
It went straight down the middle of the goal. And he's 6'4" or whatever he is, 6'2". Like, I'm not the biggest guy. He's way bigger than you think he is. It's just but then he doesn't have good position for shots like that. He can't collect the ball in the box. There's that famous one against Liverpool where the ball flies through the 6-yard line. He stays on his line, and all the defenders turn at him and just scream Kepa. And he does. It's unbelievable. He doesn't dive for shots. I don't know. It's never. You look at his percentage of shots, the goals that we can see where he doesn't dive. It's astounding. I genuinely would rather Willy Caballero next season.
So, are you thinking then that you will not sign a keeper this summer?
I don't think we do now.
Really?
I think because if you look at our net spend, before we signed Chilwell, our net spend from last summer was £4 million.
Mm-hmm.
Because we sold Morata for 6
you had a transfer ban.
Yeah, but no, that's what I mean. Everyone's saying that Chelsea are going to go crazy this summer, but we're balancing the books pretty well. So only say we do sign Ben Chilwell. We've signed Ben Chilwell now, so we're only 55 net spend. So we're 55 million net spend once we sign Kai Havertz. So you look at the team difference. It's not that bad, but who's buying Kepa off us? And his wages are like 250 grand a week. He's our second highest paid player after Timo Werner now. So last season he was our highest paid player, like double the wages of everybody else. We can't get rid of him. Who's gonna take that on? It's the Bale at Real Madrid situation. Nobody's going to pay that wages. And he signed a 7-year deal when he signed with us, something stupid like that. He was the future of the club and all that. So he's 2 years into a 7-year deal, 6-year deal, something like that. Nobody's taking that. He's going to cost somebody 50 million to get rid of him.
Yeah, for sure. But do you think he can do a De Gea?
Well, I was saying this, wasn't I? No, because De Gea was always a great shot stopper. At least De Gea, you always saw that he had that. There was elements of him being a great goalkeeper. He just was a bit flimsy in the air, and it was always stoke away job, wasn't it? Rory Delap hurling them at him. That's where he looked flimsy because he came from the Spanish league. Fergie got him in the gym one summer, removed that from his game. He's still an incredible shot stopper. He still is, to be fair. He's just low on confidence. Kepa hasn't got that. I can't.
So you don't think it's a confidence thing? You think it's just a?
I
Does he? I suppose what the thing is that even with at Arsenal with Leno, and this is the first time as an Arsenal fan I can ever say that we've had two top quality keepers. You know, it's never. I mean, we were a good keeper, not even a great keeper. We were a good keeper away from winning the league a lot of times under Wenger.
Yes.
And when we had to deal with Almunia, and don't get me wrong, you know, I have a lot of respect for Almunia, but we had Almunia, we had a young Fabianski. You know, and again, who developed into a good keeper, but at the time, you know, Flappy Hansky is what he was called.
Flappy Hansky, yeah.
So that's what I would say about Arsenal is that even the keeper situation, I'd say almost every game they make either a great save or an absolute worldie of a save. Now, I don't think I've ever seen, and I might be wrong because I don't watch, you know, every single game. I don't think I've seen Kepa make a worldie save
once. If you look at when they do his top, they do the like compilations of top 5 saves. Two of his top 5 saves are penalties.
Oh, really? Okay.
One at Valencia away, it's a penalty save, doesn't count. And the other one was against Eintracht Frankfurt, where somebody drills it down the middle and he just stands there and blocks it with his knee. I'm sorry, they can't be 2 of your best 5 saves in 2 years. I know.
No, yeah.
Well, the stats don't lie. I think he's the worst goalkeeper in the top 5 leagues. I think he's the third worst goalkeeper in Premier League history for play with over 50 games.
So when we then look at, when I say, you know, will you sign a keeper this summer, and you say no, are you doing the thing I'm doing, where because we're used to the transfer window ending, or now, you get very panicky and you're like, oh, we're not going to sign anyone? Because that's what I've been doing, forgetting that it's open for another 6 weeks or something.
I haven't heard any noise on anybody for a while. That's my thing. At least with everybody else, like Hakim Ziyech, we kind of knew was one of the things that was on the radar. Kai Havertz has been going for ages. Timo Werner, fair enough, that was a last minute one. But Thiago Silva's been weeks been happening. Ben Chilwell weeks. Declan Rice seems to be the next one who's coming in. And I can't see us spending. I can't see us spending 60, 70 million on Declan Rice and then money on a keeper. And we're not going to let Kepa sit on the bench for 250 grand a week.
But honestly, he is the reason we're losing games.
I reckon Frank gone down and seen it as a system, and because Tony Rudiger was shambolic last year, as was Andreas Christensen. If anybody put a tackling on Christensen, he just turned into awful. So if we got Zuma and Thiago Silva next year, 2 powerhouse centre halves, I think that's what Frank's going to gamble on.
Okay.
I think that's what it's going to be, because I think
maybe the experience of Thiago Silva as well to help Kepa, who's quite young.
I think he'll help the system. So because he's so experienced, he's going to be able to do that job of, what's the famous Maldini quote, isn't it? If I have to make a tackle, I've already made a mistake. That's that kind of stuff. That he'll just marshal our defence. It's just, is he too slow? Basically, he's going to be Frank's manager on the pitch. He's going to be our defensive coach on the pitch, which we didn't have last year. Because Zuma's still only 23. Tony Rudiger's god awful.
Well, hang on, you told me he was brilliant.
Season before he was best friend. Okay. I don't know what happened last year, and maybe an injury or something. But I don't think we'll sign a keeper. I don't. What about you guys then? What do you think you're good? What you're thinking?
Well, to sort of start back then, because I'm not gonna skip off after skip over the sort of starting back after lockdown stuff, just because it's a very important topic that we need to get to on that.
Yeah, I agree.
We starting back was it looked painful initially against Man City, obviously away, and David Luiz had that fantastic game, one of his best ever games, for those wanting to make YouTube fail compilations, of course.
Yep. What am
I? He gave away 5, and honestly, every time he's had a mistake, I've texted you in an absolute rage. So he gave away 5 penalties last season.
He gave away 1 in his entire Chelsea career. He gave away 1, both spells. Both spells of Chelsea, he gave away 1 penalty.
I don't know if that's because maybe we play more open, so he was left in positions where he had to make the. Well, certainly under Emery, I don't blame. Yeah, but under Emery, I don't blame anyone for anything they had to do under Emery's system, because the game was the most open thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was a joke.
I mean, Watford had 32 shots against us one game. So yeah, anyway, we won't go back to. I'm not even going to talk.
And they
about
went down. And they went down.
Yeah, and we were 2-0 up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to talk about Emery at all. And then obviously going away to Brighton, and it looked like, you know, we were going to win it with Pepe's great goal. And then Guendouzi basically just decided to stop playing football and get in a fight with someone about his wages. And that was horrendous. So yeah,
ironically, that guy, the guy is actually on a higher salary than Guendouzi.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. So it looked like it was going to be a painful sort of restart. And then we randomly sort of started winning games that no one thought we'd win. And, you know, beating Liverpool, you know, and it was a full strength Liverpool. Admittedly, they made a couple of errors, but, you know, we forced them into those errors, and that was a great win for us. And it just felt like that game, it sort of, we knew the season was a little bit over. Beating Wolves away as well, that was a huge sort of confidence boost. Beating Liverpool at home, that was a massive one. And then it just sort of felt like, don't get me wrong, I still went into the FA Cup semi-final against City going, I mean, anything less than, you know, if we avoid a 4-5-6-0, you know, I'm putting a good battling performance. Under Wenger, we used to just lie down, and it was just awful to watch. It was painful. But I was like, as long as we battle and we at least run and we try, and players look like they're engaged and they're going for it, you know, if Man City beat us, then they're better than us. So that's fine. You know, that's expected. And then to put in the performance that we did was just incredible.
But didn't you do the same thing as basically what we did to City? Isn't it more of a Pep problem that you guys just sat back and you've got Aubameyang? We had Pulisic. You caught him on a break a couple of times.
I'd say you on that day that I watched the Chelsea City game, you played better than City.
Yeah.
You played better football than City. Whereas Arteta very quickly, and this is the thing for anyone who says that Arteta didn't change Arsenal. If anyone says that Arteta hasn't changed Arsenal or hasn't sort of done much or hasn't been,
they don't know football, do they?
They don't quite understand how bad we were. I have respect for every Arsenal manager, and you know, I've only had 3 in my lifetime, or 4 if you include Ljungberg, in my lifetime. Wenger, who I never wanted to go, I was still Wenger in right until the end, just because you know, I just loved him. Emery, everyone goes, oh, he was a nice man. He tore the heart and soul out of my football club. I can't put it any simpler than that. He tore everything that was Arsenal away. There was just nothing left.
It was weird how bad he was. Strange how bad he was.
It was painful. And then Ljungberg, you know, came in. He wasn't expected to do anything, Ljungberg. He at least gave the youngsters a chance, which was brilliant to see. And then Arteta, for the first time in years, I kind of feel like we could go up against Madrid, Bayern, Barcelona, and not necessarily win, but I feel like no player will not be running, no player will not be flying into a tackle, no player will not be committed, and it just feels nice to have that as an Arsenal fan. We didn't have that for quite a few years under Wenger. We didn't have it under Emery unless it was the North London derby, which, you know, that's not Emery, that's the North London derby. That is what it is. And it just feels like every game we have that now. There's been the odd hiccup here and there for sure, and you know,
it's going to be like the Brighton game, stuff like that.
Yeah, the Brighton game, and again, I feel like he was let down a lot by what was happening on the pitch. But yeah, so that obviously Man City game happened, and it was unbelievable. And yeah, you're right, we did sit back and you know, soak it up. But you know, Mustafi, David Luiz, and Kieran Tierney were just incredible. Kieran Tierney is future Arsenal captain.
Real deal.
For sure. Yeah, real deal. And he says that, I remember him doing an interview with Hector Bellerin where he says, would you rather score a goal or make a sort of last-ditch tackle? And he was like, last-ditch tackle. He was like, any tackle, not even last-ditch. He said, any tackle, I'd rather make it. And it's just like that mentality. We haven't had that for so long.
And there was a thing with him, he was getting interviewed and he was saying that all his friends up in Scotland asked him what it's like living in London. And he said he literally doesn't have a clue. He's got no idea. All he does is, because they obviously don't train in the heart of London, he just goes training, goes home, does rehab, goes training, eats, goes home, rehab. He's just a proper professional and looks like a proper, serious player as well.
Yeah. I will say that I haven't been that impressed with him at a left back in a back four. I've been extremely impressed with him as a left centre back pushing forward that goes into a 4, if you know what I mean, when the attack is going on.
I know what you mean.
But as a left back and a back 4, I haven't been that impressed with him.
It's just
I saw him at a bad.
It's a jump, I think. It's I think that Van Dijk had the chance to not be under the spotlight and go to Southampton. I think he would have probably benefited from doing that.
I get what you mean.
Going to Southampton, going to Everton would have been like a good signing. Go to Everton for 2 years and then get used to the pace of it. You're not under the spotlight as much. And then go, how much you cost? 30 mil, was it?
25, yeah, 25.
25, yeah. So go to Everton, 25 mil, and then you sign him in 2 years' time for 40 or something like that. I think then he's doing that thing where he's sort of learning with you guys, isn't he?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I think Arteta's adapted the system, and we'll sort of get onto that in a bit, but he's adapted the system that means that in a defensive situation, he's in a back 3, and in an attacking situation, then he is the wide player in a back 4. Which is quite interesting. Well, incredible tactics. I mean, you couldn't even think of it, could you? So that City game was incredible. And then to get to the final, then it kind of felt like, listen, we've beaten City. They kind of we didn't really give them a sniff. There was a couple of chances, but nothing major. It wasn't like a peppering or anything like that. No. And it really felt then like, okay, we can if we can do this to City, we can definitely do this to Chelsea for sure. And then the game started. And after 5 minutes, I was watching it thinking, we're in trouble here. And obviously we went
15
one
minutes,
down.
I'd say. 15 minutes.
After 5 minutes, I started thinking we're in a lot of trouble here. And after 15 minutes, I was thinking, oh God, this could be 2 or 3 by half time. And then, like
Stop
you said,
playing football.
Then, you stop playing football, and we have Aubameyang.
And everyone got injured, and
all right. Chelsea fans.
Was it 3 injuries?
History books. It says Arsenal FA Cup winners 2020.
Who went off? Pulisic went off. Azpilicueta went off. Somebody else went off, and Kovacic got sent off.
I don't care.
Win to win. Win to win. Win to win.
And I mean that. Okay, as a Chelsea fan, then. Talk me through that Aubameyang second goal.
I can't remember it now. Just purposefully taking it off the agenda. I think. Well, I know. So okay, I can remember it now. He's just very good, isn't he? That's the annoying thing. Like he's got that messy thing where if he's 1-on-1, there's no doubt. In my opinion, whenever I watch him play, if he gets to that position where he got to eventually, it's like, wow, you're not missing, are you? And I think it's frustrating because Chelsea didn't turn up anything after the first 15 minutes for some reason. Just stopped playing football completely. Don't know what that was. I don't know if it was a tactical change from Arteta, which I think it might have been. But we lost Pulisic, who, like I said, at that point was just... like, okay, we've replaced Hazard now. He was playing that well.
Towards the end of the season,
he was a goal and assist every game. He was goal and assist every game without fail. He was going,
which is actually, I think he actually had better end product than Hazard.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, exactly. He had better stats. Obviously, it's easy to say that in a very short period of time. But once he went off, we didn't help for anything of any kind, which is why I think when I say we don't create any chances, that's why bringing in Ziyech, Werner and Havertz, it sort of takes pressure away from somebody like Pulisic. So that's what I think is really good. That's why I think he's brought in the attacking players, because we were pretty toothless a lot of time. But I think I can't work out Arsenal yet. Can't decide what you're going to be like next season, because although, like I said, Aubameyang's unbelievable finishing, apart from him and the fact that Arteta seems to be doing a pretty good job, and Saka, I like the look of Saka, but apart from that, none of it really worries me. Arteta worries me a little bit. I think he's a great manager. He seems to be doing a great job. Aubameyang does, but he's 32 now? 33?
Yeah, 31 years.
So he's 31, is he? So you're going to have to sign him, which it seems like you now have. Okay, you beat Liverpool on pens, but I didn't even watch the game, for being honest. So I don't know how that went. But
first, I watched the first hour. I'd say we should have been. There was opportunity to be 2 or 3, not 3. There was opportunity to do 2. Last half an hour, last 35 minutes, including the injury time, we were clinging on a bit. Yeah, we were clinging on a bit for sure.
Yeah, so I think if without him, I don't think I know you've just signed a new centre half, somebody who we were linked with at the start of the summer, but plays for Lille, so it's like classic Arsenal. It's classic Arsenal signing, isn't it? Really, it's classic Arsenal signing. It's a centre back who's meant to be quite good, who nobody else is really interested in signing. Like there's like a couple of rumours around of other, but like he's not a world class strike player, is he? But like,
I think he's 20. I think he's 22 or 23. He's got potential for sure.
You're doing that thing again where you're assembling a team to finish 5th or 6th. If you take Aubameyang out of it, there's nothing there, is there really?
Okay, I in terms of season predictions, I think Arsenal will finish in the top 4.
I think that's ridiculous.
And I think I think that's solely because, well, no, not solely. 2 things. I think Arteta. That's sort of my reason. No need to go further. Arteta. The second reason is that Arteta keeps saying, "Judge me when my squad." No, look at my squad on, I think it's October. When is it? October the 2nd? October the 6th? I can't remember when the transfer window closes. He keeps saying, "Judge, look at my squad." So that makes me think big things are happening. I don't know what.
Are you hearing anything though? Well, sold Maitland-Niles. Ceballos on a loan.
We haven't sold Maitland-Niles. Maitland-Niles is staying. He's potentially signing a new deal now.
He was going to Wolves like 2 days ago for 20 mil.
But then we played him in the Community Shield, and Arteta doesn't want to lose him, so I think it might potentially be a contract ploy. Not a contract ploy. That makes it sound like he's just wanting more money. I think he wants first team assurances, and I think he wants a new contract to go with those first team assurances.
Sure. 2 days ago, Wolves end pursuit of an Arsenal midfielder.
Yeah. So it looks like, which is gutting for them, because I think that's the only reason they sanctioned the Matt Doherty deal, was so that they thought they were getting Maitland-Niles at right wing back.
They've been, whoever has negotiated that needs to get fired for Wolves. 12 to 15 million for him.
12 to 15 mil, yeah.
He's unreal.
Is he only unreal in a back 5?
Yeah, but we'll play a back 5 then. It's Mourinho, isn't it?
Well, purely for Matt Doherty. So you build it. Don't get me wrong, I love Matt Doherty. I think he's a fantastic footballer. He's torn Arsenal apart, right? Yeah. And he's an Arsenal fan. Big Arsenal fan.
But he's Mourinho. So he'll work in a Mourinho system. I wouldn't fancy him in a back 4, admittedly, but it just he's so good. He's just so good.
12 to 15 mil is a bit of a joke, really, isn't it?
It's pathetic, isn't it? It's pathetic when you look at some of the other signings that are going around. But yeah, I think you're absolutely mental if you think you're finishing 4th.
Okay, well, I actually do think Arsenal are finishing 4th. That's exactly where.
Okay, who's not finishing 4th then? You're going to say United, you?
Tottenham.
Well, obviously they're not in the conversation. The current top 4: so Liverpool, City.
This is a bad podcast because we're Arsenal and Chelsea, so we have a mutual.
Yeah. Well, Tottenham are going down, aren't they? So if you've got City. Liverpool, City, United, Chelsea. Who's dropping out?
No. United are not finishing top 4.
Okay, with a midfield of Fernandes, Pogba, and Van der Beek.
I don't care. Their manager is Ollie. They're not finishing top 4.
They finished 3rd last year.
Oh, come on! After the restart, you nobody. Leicester were relegation candidates.
Yes,
but the reason completely stopped playing.
Yeah, but the reason that they did so well,
Arsenal could never finish top 4.
If you look at the fixture list, the reason that they were there was always things like blah blah blah. But I play fantasy football, and they did it where you could see the transfers. Even at the start of the season, I was like, the last 15 games, I'm flooding it with United players because they had just the way their fixtures were set up. Is they had it really hard up until what should have been March, and then they had loads of easy fixtures.
Right. But so this is the other thing. But everyone keeps going, "Oh, United have turned a corner. United are back." Blah blah blah. They played all of bottom half teams. Not dreadful teams, but not on form teams, and
butchered them.
Butchered them. Yeah, absolutely, as they should, right? A lot of them were at home. Yeah, but a lot of them were. Yeah, but Chelsea were completely different after the shutdown. They were like you said, they were guaranteed foot off the pedal.
Lazy.
And I think that was actually almost their Achilles heel in the FA Cup semi-final, in the FA Cup final. Sorry, I think they couldn't then switch it back on. Yeah, exactly. So I think, as soon as United had to play anyone difficult, yourselves in the semi-final, they were rubbish.
Awful. Awful.
I can't think of anyone that they played that was good that they beat. They just beat teams that they should have beaten. It's not.
They were very unlucky. They were very unlucky in the Europa League.
Plus, didn't they
Very
have
unlucky.
how many penalties
they were
this season?
so unlucky. They were they've had a lot of penalties, but you have to be in the right place to win those penalties.
22 times or something, whatever it was.
Right. So I watched a lot of United towards the end of the season just because they were so good. They just looked so good. I tried to watch as many United games as I possibly could, and all the penalties were like, yeah, pretty much, yeah, fair enough, because they were just.
I saw quite a few penalties that if Arsenal had gone to VAR, they would not have been given.
They were washing teams. They were absolutely annihilating them. And if they get, as an example now, they get Sancho, you're telling me a team of De Gea, and then, okay, we ignore the back four for a minute, but that's Wan-Bissaka at right back, fair enough. Then, they need to buy a centre-half. Okay, we know we need to buy a centre-half. I'd be happy with Luke Shaw, Brandon Williams, if I was a United fan. Quite like Brandon Williams.
I think a lot of it'd be good to get, I've got a couple of mates who are United fans, it'd be good to get them on this. But
Brandon Williams is class.
Brandon Williams, they're excited about. Luke Shaw, they want out of the club. They really do.
Big fat Chelsea family, legend. But I'm sorry, midfield three of the way that Fernandes and Pogba were playing together towards the end of last season, and with Van der Beek in there.
Yeah.
Oh, good God. And then if I don't think Rashford had a great season last year, but and his stats were still ridiculous. Then if they sign Sancho, they've got then a possible front three that's got Rashford, Martial, Greenwood, and Sancho in it. And I mean, that's got goals written all over it. You're telling me that front three and midfield three isn't going to score them obscene amounts of goals, and they'll be like, they're going to wash every team from 8 down.
So are they doing
4 or 5 nils?
Are they doing the same thing that Chelsea are trying to do now, where they're just focusing on we don't need to beat Man City and Liverpool, technically. We need to beat everyone else.
Because that's the problem we had. We were losing to Sheffield United. We were drawing with West Ham.
Those
are the games we should be winning. But because then tactically, same as United, to be fair, how many times they played City? 5 times or something like that since Ollie's taken over. They've beaten him 3 times. Mm-hmm. He's got an unbelievable record against Pep. Because all he needs to do is sit back. And the pace that they have, they're going to catch everyone on the break. So they sit back against Liverpool, us, and City.
Yeah.
Everybody else, they're just going to score 5 against. And nobody's got the firepower to score 6 against them. So play 5 at the back for those 3 games a season, 6 games a season, and they just absolutely smash living crap out of everyone else.
Yeah. Okay.
Whereas, I don't think Arsenal have got that. I don't think got that kind of firepower.
No, I think you're right with that. I think you're right with that, and I think
has Lacazette gone?
Whilst he hasn't gone yet. No, I don't think he will go. Do you know what? I think Arsenal thing depends on a few things. I think it depends how much Arteta trusts the back four, because that's what he wants to play. Yeah. If we sign Thomas Partey, and
huge signing those,
and Hassan Aouar from Lyon, which I don't think we're getting both, because I think Aouar is 50 million. I think Partey's 50 million. So, I don't think we're getting both. But if we sign those two, that opens up the back four. It looks like Ceballos is coming back, which maybe looks like Aouar isn't happening then. So it looks like a loan deal again.
Seems like 1 year, doesn't it?
And then the kind of thing that sort of not hinges it for us, because we've got Bukayo Saka, but he's young and he does need to work on his defensive work as an attacking player in the Community Shield. We nearly got caught out quite a few times because he was out of position as a tracking back. But to be fair, Bellerin, you could see Bellerin having a go at him, which is good to see, and to sort of know that they're fighting for each other. But I think what a lot of it kind of comes down to is we know Aubameyang's going to perform. If Lacazette can get some sort of form going, we know he's
10 goals next year from him be enough.
I think well, no, because I'd expect from him all competitions.
In the league,
if he can get 15, which is what I think we should expect from Arsenal's number 9 at least. We should expect a lot more, but he is. What annoys me with him is, and it kind of ties in with what I was going to say next, is that in his first season, I was going that next season he'll have adjusted and it will be mad.
He was the player. He was that player that we had this argument. Sorry to cut you off, but it was like Giroud's not going to win you the league. When you signed Lacazette, I was like, shit. You might actually do something now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's just because of his record. And then, then you brought Aubameyang in. And it was like, oh my God, what was Wenger left him with? And Unai Emery. So.
But what I was going to say then is that Lacazette hasn't kind of gone on and done that yet. I still feel like he has the potential to do it for 1 or 2 seasons and to really hit the ground running and go for it. Maybe that's just me being optimistic.
I think it's gone now, yeah. I think if he hasn't done it by now, what's he, 3.5 years at the club?
2.5. No, Yeah,
he
might
was signed by Wenger. He was signed by Wenger.
Yeah, so he's actually going into his 4th season now. Yeah, that's a good point. That, yeah,
he was there 6 months before Aubameyang was. I'm sure he was.
Yeah,
signed him in the summer.
Yeah.
So
That is right. Yeah,
he's started his 4th
season. Yeah, hasn't really happened for him yet. There's been spells.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing with him. He goes from that goal against Tottenham where it's just like,
oh, that was unbelievable.
Bloody hell! Where have you hit that from?
Yeah.
And then he just goes to sort of the ball bounces off him, or he gets it and he just sticks his arse into the player behind him and doesn't do anything with it. And anyway. But what I'm kind of hoping happens is that Pepe really, because everyone says he was a flop. He was not a flop. He was not a flop.
Yeah,
he was. If you're an Arsenal fan and you watch the games, he was our most dangerous and often our best player in pretty much every game. If he really hits the ground running, really flashes into it, I think a lot of teams are in trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
The big hope for us. If we can then get the players that Arteta wants to be able to play a back 4, I'll tell you what then. So just not to finish it off, but because I've got one more question I want to ask you as a Chelsea fan from an Arsenal fan. But to sort of bring one section to a close then, imagine the transfer window is closed. Okay, you're heading into your game in the, it's going to be weird because it will sort of close about a month into the season. But it's closed. You're going into the next game after the transfer window. Everyone's fully fit. Imagine there isn't that. You've got to adapt to the league. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
What is your ideal? And when I say ideal, I do mean kind of realistic as well. They're not like ideal as in Messi. As in what would be your?
Well, that is realistic these days.
Well, yeah, I suppose. What is your starting lineup you'd like to see, and also the subs that then come on, or even you can say like a 5 additional who will be important to the squad, the first 11 that season.
Okay, so I've got Onana in goal from Ajax.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard any noise about that. Have you?
That's the one. Him and Oblak are the only ones who've had serious noise. It's those two. Onana's been going on all summer, noise-wise. Reece James right back.
Interesting.
Thiago Silva.
You writing this down?
Yeah, I am. Yes, I know. Because I've got to think in systems as well. Thiago Silva and Zuma. I think Zuma was our best centre back last year. We've got obviously Ben Chilwell.
Yeah.
Assuming no injuries, obviously. Kante and Kovacic. Kovacic player of the season last year. So him and them two as a midfield too.
Yeah.
Which then takes, I think, the ability to have those two, Kovacic playing as a sort of a connecting player and Kante basically dropping in as a third centre-back, effectively, doing what he did for Leicester, rather than playing bloody right wing or whatever Sarri had him doing. So him just doing what Kante does. And then I've got Ziyech on the right, probably. Havertz number 10. Obviously, this is fluid as anything, especially with these players. Pulisic on the left and Timo Werner up top. And those 4 drifting around, kind of doing what they want. But it's down to those 4 to score all the goals. And I think the rest of them... So there's basically a back 5 with Kante, Kovacic linking them, and then that front 4. And then coming off the bench...
just off the bench. Who's the next
the other 5
ones? Then who are going to be
Azpilicueta. It's got to be. Azpilicueta. I just don't know what we can do with Kepa. That's the only problem. Billy Gilmour.
You think he's going to be important next season, do you?
Yeah, I do. I think we'll pick him over Jorginho.
Is Jorginho leaving this summer?
Looks like no noise again. I think he might stay. I think it depends if there's rumours Thiago Silva's going to give him the vice captaincy straight away, away from Jorginho. And I think if that happens, then him and Sarri are going to go play in a park somewhere together. So you've got Azpilicueta, Gilmour, Hudson-Odoi. I think Hudson-Odoi is his last chance next season, probably.
Really?
Injuries.
Okay. Early?
I think it's tough. It's tough when you look at the players who've got ahead of him. It's lucky. It's good that for his sake, it's good that
Frank is in charge.
Frank's in charge because English and young, and he'll give him I think he'll give him maybe give him 2 more years. And the fact that Willian and Pedro have finally gone.
Good
but
point.
I'd go Azpilicueta, Gilmour, Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount, and it's probably going to be Tammy Abraham.
Yeah.
Probably. That's my. What's that? 15?
Would you be surprised if he went out on loan?
Yes.
You would? Okay.
I would be.
I haven't heard any noise, but I almost feel like that's what he needs.
Money again. Too much money again. He's not going out alone after he scored 15 in league. He was our top scorer last year for the team who finished 4th and got to an FA Cup final. I know the reason, like we said, we would finish 4th by Christmas, basically, because of his goals.
Yeah.
So I think he deserves to stay as our number 2. But yeah, I'd have that as Azpilicueta as defensive, anywhere across the back 4. Gilmour is one of those holding players. Mason Mount, any one of the top 4s, a winger and then a striker. Yeah, so I'm going for. So Onana in goal is the only sign I think we need to make.
Yeah.
Reece James, Thiago Silva, Kurt Zouma, Ben Chilwell, Kante, Kovacic, Ziyech, Havertz, Pulisic, Timo Werner, and then off the bench got Azpilicueta, Billy Gilmour, Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount, and Tammy Abraham.
Can you hold that up to the camera for a second, just so that at the end of the season, when none of those players are any good, I can
or in the team,
when Tammy Abraham is playing for Newport, I can say that I was right all along.
Ben Chilwell's off to West Ham.
Okay, so as an Arsenal fan, then doing the same, I would actually start with Martinez in goal. And then I'm gonna do it as the ideal that Arteta does get the players he wants. And can play in the system that I think he wants to play. I might be wrong, but it looks to me like he'd want to play Pep's system or similar. So 4 at the back then. Obviously, I'm going to go with Bellerin, who I really was sort of given up on at one point. But towards the back end of last season, and when I say the back end, I do mean like the last 2 or 3 games, and then the Community Shield. I thought he was brilliant. Every Arsenal fan, I don't know if you've seen it on social media, they're all sort of saying their ideal would be to start with Saliba. But for me, he's 19. He's young, and I think he's going to be a world beater, and he looks very good. But we've seen it before when you sort of play young players too quickly and too much, and you're too reliant on them. You know, some of them thrive, but some of them, the majority the majority, it's too much too soon. So I would actually, in a back 4, this is tricky.
I think Rob Holding's going on loan to Newcastle as well.
Yeah, and the issue is that Gabriel is going to be, because he's left-footed, he's going to be our left-sided. So I'll put that in now. Our right side, I would say David Luiz, but David Luiz is not a right-sided centre-back, and also not someone who I can really rely on.
You might have to play there.
What's that, sorry?
Do you sign another centre-half then? Two new centre-halves is dodgy.
I don't think we would, because I think it would be limiting Saliba's development. I think that's the only reason we've kept David Luiz for another year, so that if Saliba is not, or it kind of goes in and out of form, he can sort of come in and sort of steady the ship, which is not a good player to have to steady the ship.
Who started the Community Shield?
It was David Luiz and Rob Holding.
Fair. So it probably will be David Luiz then.
Yeah, I'm thinking, but in terms of my ideal, and if I'm imagining there's no adjustment period and I'm going off of just ability of what I've seen, I would. No, I can't go with Saliba just yet, because it's two players who are young, who are the heart of your defence and have both come from Liga. You can't risk it. So I'd go with David Luiz just for the presence on the pitch, I suppose, and the experience.
For the banter.
Left back, even though I haven't been impressed with him at left back in a back 4, I think it's got to be Tierney, and he's got to have his chance there in Arteta's system. We need a CDM, a proper CDM, and one that I do think will come in the end is Partey. It would be a huge signing, but I do think that will go through. I've heard too much noise.
Same, yeah.
That's
been going on since January, that has.
Yeah, but you know this. The issue with Atletico Madrid players is that they all seem to do this and then sign a new deal. That is, I mean, Godin did it for about 3 seasons in a row. Griezmann did it for 2 seasons in a row. They just tend to, I think Sal did
Both left though.
Yeah, that is true. Eventually. But this is the first time I'm hearing any noise of Partey. He's never
there was rumours last summer because his release clause isn't as ridiculous as most of them.
That is true. I do think he will come.
I think that's
then I'll go with a sort of 2 in front of him then. Ceballos, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I would keep Xhaka in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a huge fan of. Well, I've never been a huge fan of Xhaka just because it angers me how lax he can be on the ball sometimes. When he takes it from the centre back, he just sort of lets the attacking. I mean, it nearly hurt us in the FA Cup final. Mount nipped in and nearly scored, and that's not like a one-off. I mean, when he first joined in his first couple of seasons, it would be every game, and you'd just be, sort of running around like a gazelle. It was, Bambi on ice. It was extremely frustrating. But he has become a real leader, and we are so much better. It pains me to say this. We are so much better.
He's a leader.
Well, he is so much
spat
better.
On the shirt, whatever he did.
Well, yeah. Well, he didn't spit on the show. He just told the fans to fuck off. So that's, I mean, I've told the fans to fuck off. So that's fine. We are so much better with him in the team than we are without. So I think he's got to stay. And then the front three, I would keep as it is pretty much. So I would actually have as a starting, I would have Pepe, sorry. No, not Papa, not Papa Sophilos, as a right wing. I would have Pepe, I'd have Laka, and then I'd have Ogo out wide. I think if I had my proper ideal, but I don't think it would happen, would be to have Oba as the main striker and have Coutinho on the left. But I don't see that happening. Even though I've heard a lot of noise about it, I just don't see it happening at all.
I haven't heard any concrete noise. It seems to be he's going back to Barca.
Well, yeah. So that wasn't the case when.
What's his name was there?
I don't know. Remember his name? Caton?
They've had so many. Random Spanish managers.
It is so true. When he was still there, that wasn't the case at all. It was sort of that he was definitely leaving. Bayern didn't want him. No other Premier League top club were kind of wanting him because they'd already made.
But Arsenal were keen.
So it kind of looked like he might actually end up with us, but I just don't see it happening. I think he is a world beater, and he is a world class player. And I think if Barca can get, well, I mean, he's got Inter
Milan written all over him. He's got a return to Inter Milan written all over that.
Yeah, that's an interesting shout. Right? Yeah. Okay, so the additional 5 then. I actually think Leno will be a huge player because I do think Martinez and Leno will really battle it out. I've never been sure about that in the past, about whether keepers can do that, but I've never been at a club where they've had 2 top quality keepers in a long time. So
someone loses. We had Courtois and Cech. Usually you can't. Someone loses.
Yeah, but Cech was losing that all day long because of his age.
Yeah.
Whereas Leno and Martinez, I think in the long run, I think you might be right, but I want to see him have a chance because he has not put a foot wrong all season when he came in. He's not just not put a foot wrong; he's been brilliant. And we've won a lot of games.
I don't think Elneny was one of the best keepers in the league before he got injured.
Yeah, so do I. This is the thing. I've never been in this situation as an Arsenal fan where we've had 2.
You can flip a coin who's the best.
Exactly, and that's why I think they'll both be important. So I'll have Leno as an additional 5. He'll be important. I think I'm going to leave that one blank for a second. I think, surprisingly, Elneny is going to be important. He was brilliant in the Community Shield. He can cover any of those positions. He used to frustrate me a lot as when he played sort of under Wenger because he was constantly backwards or sideways. And it just used to frustrate me that he wouldn't try and get the ball through the play. But I don't think under Arteta's system, his role as a CDM or a backup CDM when he gets the ball is to play it forward. So I don't think, or at least out wide to the centre back. So I don't think he's going to play in the same way, and I think he's actually got he's got an engine and he's got a football brain. So I think he'll be important as well. I think Saka, obviously, I think he can cover a lot of roles. Defensively, attacking, he was just a revelation last season. No one saw it coming. I certainly didn't, and I follow the youth football. And he really just sort of came out of nowhere and was brilliant. He really was. I honestly haven't seen, I don't know how much of Arsenal you've watched and how much of him you've watched. I haven't seen a player who can deliver a final ball as well as that in a long time.
But I'll admit, I did watch a fair bit of him towards the end of the season because I was in a fantasy football battle and he seemed to be doing pretty well. So I did watch a fair bit of him. The only problem I have is whenever you tell me that someone's going to be a good Arsenal player, I just think of players like Alex Iwobi. You keep telling me that Ferguson said he's the best player in the league or whatever.
He did. He said he was the best young player. I'm going to find the article and link it in and put it in now. He said he was the best young player in the league and that he was one that he was really excited to watch. And I think Iwobi,
it was about time he retired then, wasn't it?
Well, Iwobi is playing out of position. In my opinion, he was always best when he was central for Arsenal. He's central for Nigeria and he's brilliant. And I think he's being played out of position where he plays. And that's just personal opinion. But anyway, so I understand what you're saying. I would say that I don't think, except for in his first 3 games, when I think Iwobi assisted 4 and scored 3 or something, and then didn't do those numbers again, or even reach the total of those numbers in the rest of his entire career with Arsenal. I don't think I've seen a young player put up the numbers like Saka, and also to deliver the quality consistently like Saka. His final ball is astonishing. So I do.
He's definitely better than Iwobi. Definitely better than Iwobi.
Okay, yeah, we'll have that. I think Nketiah is going to be a big player off the bench. He did, and I think he'll actually start ahead of Laka for quite a few games just because of what he offers the team. He needs to calm it down a little bit when it comes to his finishing. He's still young, and when the ball, he's sort of, rabbit in the headlights. He gets the ball at his feet and he just lashes at it, and he makes good connections sometimes and scores all right goals. But if he can, in the youth team, he was very composed because there was a lot, smaller crowds and everything like that. And it was kind of that similar Chuba Akpom thing where he broke all the records and could finish for days in the youth teams, and then it got to the senior level and he just didn't quite come off for him. Although it's working for Chuba Akpom now in Panathinaikos, not Panathinaikos, PAOK.
Is it worth is it worth Nketiah having a year in the Prem for like Newcastle?
Yes, yeah. I'm surprised. Yeah, I am surprised that's not particularly when you said that. Particularly Newcastle,
because they need a striker
big crowd,
more than anything.
Football is everything up there. Nothing else. Football, and that's it.
Pressure, number 9.
Big pressure.
Can't be any worse than what they've got.
Newcastle's number 9. Yeah, can't be worse than what they've got. Young English people who get behind him. Fast, exciting. Presses, works hard. I mean, a proper mid-table player that gets people on their feet because he works so hard and can produce moments of brilliance, and then can progress on. And he is still very young. And strikers are not. It's very rare that a young striker comes in. And maybe this is a conversation for another podcast, but we'll talk about that another time. But I think he will stay with Arsenal this season unless we sign another backup. And I heard no noise around that, so I'd be surprised if that came off. And then the final player who I think will be important, and I really hope he's important, and I actually hope he cements himself in midfield ahead of Xhaka, is Maitland-Niles.
What about what's his name? Salabas?
What's that?
Mohamed Salabas.
Yeah, Ceballos? He's in there. He's in my starting.
No, he's the centre back.
Oh, Saliba. Yeah,
Saliba,
I don't think he'll be vital to Arsenal this season. I think he'll be vital to Arsenal for the next 5 and 10 years. I don't think he'll be vital to Arsenal this season, unless, and like I said, that centre back where David Luiz is, you can easily swap that out for Saliba, and I'd be happy all day long. It's just because I think you can't have 2 Liga adjusting to the Premier League central defenders, young, as your heart and rock of your defence.
If you think about it, two very young French, been to the French league centre backs, and Martinez, who started the season at Reading last year, you're getting butchered at the back. You've got those 3, I reckon.
Well, I mean, you're not even getting butchered. It could just be a not even getting butchered, but just it's nervy. It's not comfortable. The rest of the team feel it. It doesn't allow them to play the football they want to play, and it puts everyone off.
What we've had with Kepa, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's so true. You can see that with Chelsea when you watch them. So yeah.
We're too scared for the ball to go in the box.
I would put this up to the camera now. What I'll do is I'll take a photo and I'll edit it in and add it in now, so that you can laugh at me later. Okay, so to bring this kind of to an end, because I think this has been going on just over an hour now, maybe a little bit longer. Final one I want to ask you, just to kind of summarise on this. I can't really do an Arsenal and Chelsea fan podcast without asking the question, Willian, good Arsenal signing?
I think you've been done over.
Ooh.
And that's not me being sort of sour grapes. He was statistically our best player last year, but
Mm-hmm.
stats are for mugs, as somebody more famous than me said. And he wasn't our best player last year. There's been seasons where he has been brilliant, but he is a liability if he doesn't turn up, but amazing if he does. It's one of those, like against Spurs this year, it was one of those, if he turns up, we'll win the game. He scored 2 unbelievable goals. Well, one was a pen, but still.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable pen, though.
Unbelievable penalty.
It's against Spurs, of course it's unbelievable. Any goal against Spurs is class. It's got extra weight instantly.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, he bossed teams. He's done it before. He bosses teams. But
so, okay,
he drifts out of games so much.
I've heard, not from just you, I've heard from a lot of Chelsea fans.
And he can't cross.
That he is so frustrating to watch. And the thing that's frustrating for me as an Arsenal fan is when I watch him, I think he's brilliant and I wish we had him. So where does that kind of crossover come in? Are you being overly critical, or is it the genuine reality that it is frustrating? And will I get frustrated watching him this season?
You'll get frustrated with him, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the thing that's frustrating is that, even more frustrating, is that it's decision-making. And that you think that would have got better, but it hasn't. There has been seasons where he's been our player of the year, 100%. I think there was a year the season that Hazard had off, but we finished 10th that year. He was our player of the season. He was the only shining light. But I'm happy he's gone, because I think it gives a chance to Hudson-Odoi to get more games, as an example. And we don't offer anything bigger than a 1-year contract if you're over the age 30, and to be paying him 100 plus grand a week for 3 years or whatever. It's got 3 years.
3 years. Yeah.
A 3-year deal, and he's 32 now.
Yeah.
Did you really want to pay a 35-year-old 100 grand a week?
See, I think he might do a job for 2 seasons, and then last season we'll go to America, China, that sort of place, or Brazil.
So
back to Brazil. Oh, hang on! I've just realised he's not actually in my 11. Okay, let me change this.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to go with Partey and Ceballos as a 2, and then Willian as a number 10. Ober on the left, Pepe on the right, Lacquer up front, and then I'll take out Elneny from the additional 5, and I'll put Xhaka in there.
I don't reckon Lacazette starts.
Yeah, you might be right. It might be a Ober as number 9, Willian left,
Willian and Pepe,
Xhaka back in. Yeah, you're probably right with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be it. Yeah, because Lacazette doesn't do enough, and Aubameyang's just a machine. But yeah, I'm not sad that he's gone. I think he's been a brilliant servant to the club. There's been some brilliant moments. He's won a lot of trophies, but it's another one of those without trying to be a dick. But it's Petr Cech and David Luiz again.
Yeah.
We didn't want him. We didn't want him. We were only to offer him 1 year because he'd do a job for another year. But 3 years, that's risky business. That he's over the hill. I think
I sort of always try and compare it to when it comes to the frustration thing. I always try and compare it with the Alexis Sanchez at Arsenal. Yes, stats, player of the year, blah, blah, blah. Everyone was like, he's your only world-class player. You watch him go to Real Madrid, Manchester United, Man City, and be a fantastic player, yada, yada, yada. But he was so frustrating to watch, not from ability point of view, which is, I think, what more you're saying for Willian.
Yeah.
But it was from the attitude point of view, where he sort of made out he was better than everyone else. And he's gone to United and done nothing, and then gone to Inter and kind of done virtually nothing, and has managed to get a permanent deal. But it's that thing where you're trying to explain to everyone else that I know what you're thinking you're getting, and you're not getting that.
Whereas I was the other way with David Luiz. I thought he was. I thought we were.
Yeah, you said to me, you said an incredible signing that, and I remember being fuming just because every time I watch him, he gave me a heart attack, and I wasn't even a Chelsea fan. And he's definitely done that for Arsenal. But then saying that, I can see where you're coming from in some games. In some games, he has been an absolute rock. I mean, some of the best centre-back plays I've seen at Arsenal in a long time, and then in others, an absolute clown. So, it's tricky. And, I wonder what we're going to get with Willian. I've always thought he's extremely tidy to watch, extremely entertaining to watch. And I hope we get that. But
he's another one. He's a great highlight reel. He's a great highlight reel.
I think you might be right there.
The miss and overhit crosses don't make the highlight reel. And the reason he scored so many goals is because he's class at free kicks. He's amazing.
Well, I mean, I'll take that. Arsenal,
yeah,
to be
he'll
fair,
probably bang you in 3 or 4 this season.
Because I think Pepe, wins about 4 free kicks a game. So
yeah, so yeah. I think it's not a bad signing probably for a year, but he wanted more than a year. We were willing to give it to him. So I think it works for everyone. It works for everyone. Yeah. You'll probably get maybe a good 18 months out of him.
Yeah.
Whilst Saka becomes a bit better, and then like you said, probably get rid of him in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
Once Saka's actually in his early 20s and probably going to get a lot more game time.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, thank you very much for doing this, and this is obviously our first one together. They will obviously get a bit slicker and a bit sort of more condensed and sort of answering things. But yeah, if you've listened to this,
maybe from you, I'm going to really start rambling. I'm going to really start rambling soon.
If you listen to this and you enjoyed it, then that's great. And like I said, we're just doing this because we're basically two mates who do this once every 3 months who want to do it far more often. Sorry. This is kind of excuse to then call it a personal project to make it a podcast. So if you've listened to it and enjoyed it, then that's brilliant. Please give us a follow on all our socials. I'll put them in the video now because I can't remember them off the top of my head because I only made them yesterday. I'll put them in the video now. We're going to be uploading it to YouTube. So you can see sort of the clips from it, and we'll sort of clip them down into shorter clips throughout the week where we've sort of our bigger discussions become maybe smaller discussions. The full podcast itself will go onto Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, I think a few others as well. It'll go on all the sort of podcast websites basically, and the generic podcast app that you can get on the App Store on mobile devices. You'll be able to sort of find us in there as well. So it's the Absolute Football the Absolute Football Podcast. Yeah, that's it. Thanks very much for listening, and tune in next time. Happy?
Good. That's good, that.